For my favorite personality thing, I decided to talk about Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory. Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory of personality development tells us that human personality is the result of three different but fundamental structures: the ID, the ego, and the superego. Freud believed that our levels of consciousness, which are the consciousness, preconsciousness, and the unconsciousness, interfere with the fundamental structures. The theory also claims that our awareness levels combined with our experiences in early childhood can form the basis of certain mental disorders. However, many modern psychotherapists do not use the psychoanalytic theory because it has many flaws. Freud divided human awareness into the principles of conscious, unconscious, and preconscious thought. Conscious thought is when you may be listening to music and you can hear someone talking on the phone in the next room. The unconscious, that plays a major role in mental illnesses, according to Freud's theory, is compiled of mostly negative memories that we have hidden to live a normal life. Preconscious thoughts are easily retrieved and made up of your memories. According to Freud, our minds are the result of three central components called the ID, the ego, and the superego. All of these interact to make us behave in similar ways and as individuals. The first central component is the ID. This is the most basic of these components. The second central component is the ego. This is the rational and realistic part of the human mind. The final component is the superego. This controls the primal instincts and conscious acceptance of reality. Every part of the personality present at birth is composed of the ID. The ID allows us to respond to our primitive urges and needs as a newborn. The ID is the driving force of our personality. It is hard to change because it is a fixed entity. The ID is an unconscious component that allows you to seek pleasure and/or avoid pain. The ego operates according to the reality principle, usually in the way of compromise. It is present at every level of awareness. The ego is geared towards pleasure-seeking and pain-avoiding behavior. It consists of our defense mechanisms. Some of these include denial, fantasy, projection, and regression. The superego of Freud's psychoanalytic theory is centered on the conscious. Parents are the initial source of the superego development. However, throughout an individual's life, the responsibility is passed on to teachers, colleagues, and friends. An interesting fact is that a child's superego is nearly always identical to that of its parents, and it is the opposite of the ID. Some examples of the ID is how hunger creates a desire for food, thirst for water, and the sense of danger makes us fight or run. An example of the ego is fantasizing about a glass of water when you are thirsty or far from a water supply. An example of the superego is someone's choice not to eat meat because they believe it is wrong to kill animals. The superego is mostly right versus wrong ideas. The psychoanalytic theory stages are formed through childhood and young adulthood and are known as the psychosexual stages of development. The oral period happens from birth to 1 year. It happens during the ID period. The anal stage is set from 1 to 3 years old. The ego established and used during this period. The phallic stage happens when the child is 3 to 6 years old. This is when the opites and electro complex begins. The lactancy period happens when you're 6 years old to puberty. This is during the ego and superego period. The last stage is genital. This happens during puberty to adulthood. This is the most crucial part of the superego. Another part of Freud's psychoanalytic theory is an individual's dream. Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory of dreams considers that when we sleep, our brain recognizes our thoughts. Freud believed that dream interpretation could explain individual behaviors. Freud split dreams into two components: materials and their interactions. Most dreams reflect personal experiences, desires, and traits. Freud believed every dream is the fulfillment of a wish. According to Freud, only a latent dream can give true insights into the working of the individual mind. That is the end of my favorite personality thing presentation. Thank you.